You are now tuned in to Not Without Alonzo.
You talked about how it's cool. It was cool to be hood. It's still the same way. I mean, if you think about it, we have this dude 6ix9ine, Tekashi 6ix9ine, who's the big talk now. He just met his gang friends about a year ago. Everything's starting to come out because of this trial now, and his recent situation. But he apparently wasn't a gangster. He was given this image and things like that. You even said earlier that this is. I did what I did for this shit right here. How does that make you feel that we're at a time now to where, I mean, you're not a gangster growing up, but then all of a sudden you're a gangster, you get some face tattoos, you hang out with a few dudes. They're extorting this guy.
You know, it's amazing, man. I've seen it happen over and over again. I think Chris Brown was one of the first cats that I saw. He was a milk and honey kid. All of a sudden he wanted to be a fucking gangster. You know, Lil Wayne. I mean, he wants to be affiliated with the Bloods. Biggie. He came out to L.A. Allegedly, he hired some A-Trays to be his security guard, somebody from the blue team. Tupac was running with the red team. Snoop, he's always claimed to be, his Long Beach Crips. And it used to be a time that was a death sentence. That was the end of your career. And now it becomes a requirement. It's almost like you have to have tattoos, dreads, and a blood pass or a gang pass, and for these guys, not so much guys who are really into it, like your Snoops or whatever, but these guys who weren't into it and just kind of felt they had to have that association to remain street. I don't understand. That's something that's always befuddled the shit out of me, because it's not mandatory if you have the product, okay? And they keep forgetting they're here to sell music, not bullshit. But bullshit has become such a big part of hip-hop today that it's almost a mandatory byproduct. You have to have bullshit to make your career grow. Now you got cats. This kid 69 is looking at fucking life in the penitentiary, and I was just trying to be a gangster to sell records. Motherfucker's too late. It's too fucking late. They believed you.
Right.
They fucking believed you. Okay. So now,
But it's manufactured. I mean, we gotta, let's just be real. I mean, the hood today is nowhere near what it was in the 80s. Pre-riots.
Oh, yeah.
Pre-riots. I mean, the riots in 1992 was a pivotal point to Los Angeles. Prior to the riots, LA was literally separated by Bloods and Crips. They hated each other. Literally. You couldn't have, you had to literally look down at what you had. That's why the black and silver and black and white was such a big look in a lot of the LA rap and dance looks, because it was a safe colors that because there wasn't any color. You couldn't wear even yellow or green or even brown because they were affiliated.
Santana Block.
Yeah, exactly. Hoover, whatever. It was like, so it was, and you could congregate back then. But after the riots, there was a lot of unity. And in that, there was a lot of understanding. It was the first time that you really realized, wow, my mama eats that same brand of this, and we do this, and we go to the same thing. We like the same thing. They were so separate, they didn't realize how much they had in common. And the Blood and Crips coming together was a big, huge movement. That's not what they wanted to happen.
No, they stopped that shit quick.
So,
that Peace
so they
thing.
fed that shit into the music industry. And then, right after the riots, what was the next big thing that they pushed? OJ. And then what was right after that? The East Coast, West Coast beef. And the music industry propelled that. It wasn't us. We were the generals in here in LA of our own thing. The New York had, then there was no beef between us. The only ones who believed that shit were the fools in the Midwest. They were the only ones who believed it.
Reading Source.
And isn't it funny? Right after the East Coast, West Coast thing, what happened? The music industry went where? Straight to the Midwest. It was like they drew a straight line. They took Eminem out of Detroit. They took Common out of Chicago. They took Nelly out of Memphis. And then all the No Limit and all took over all the South. And they took over the Screw movement. They were taking over Deepak and Pimp C and all the New Orleans and all the Florida artists. And so they just had the whole. So anyway, it was all Midwest. And Midwest was already kind of, some were New York, some were LA, but they were back in time. But they had a unique way of hooking. They had great hooks. So I mean, they could like their dancers. They could make a hook or a dance every minute.
And I'm gonna miss everybody.
Right.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, I forgot about Cleveland, Ohio, and that shit too. But But then the millennium came, and it just became it just became like the disposable era. You know, they've created how many you guys comment below when you see this, because this is a question I want to ask everybody. We were 18 years into this millennium. That's almost 2 decades. Mm-hmm. How many icons have they produced in any music category in 18 years? You can be an icon in 5 years. Tupac is an icon, and he was only out as a rapper for 5 years. Now, mind you, Tupac did more in 5 years than most rappers have done in 10 years. Yeah. You gotta remember, he did movies, tours, in jail, got shot, had to heal up, did more movies, did more albums, did more tours, talked more shit. He did more in 5 years than, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. And, you know, commercials, advertising, music videos. I mean, he was probably one of the most worked in that 5 years, but he was an icon.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Now you got people releasing 1 album a year, and it's like they feel like
not even an album. Yeah. They release they release placements or mixtapes or little EPs, but they're not albums. They're not full length thing. There's like 1 or 2 hits on a mixtape of 12 songs. Mm-hmm. You know, and everything kind of formulates to like what sounds like him and looks like them, and you know, so it's all like it's, you know, everybody's disposable.
Now you're gonna have a 25-year-old who loves hip hop just as much as you do say, I can't believe he just said that the 2000s haven't produced any icons. Do you think anyone comes close? I personally would say Kanye West is an icon.
He's not an icon, he's an idol. The reason why he's not an icon, because icons don't have to try hard. They don't have to go and talk a whole bunch of mess and keep themselves relevant by, I'm not gonna disrespect Kanye, but come on, dude, he married a whore. You know what I'm saying? And who did her better than he ever did. So let's just, on tape, mind you. So I can't really, that's not an icon to me. Icon is somebody who stands strong with their morals and their principles and what their movement is of what they're, whether it's the Beatles, John Lennon, or Bob Marley, or James Brown, or Michael Jackson. Unfortunately, a lot of them have died. Bob Dylan, Paul McCartney, Prince. These are icons. Mariah Carey, Whitney Houston, Aretha Franklin. These are icons. Now you have Beyonce and you have Jay-Z. They are icons, but they come out of the 90s.
Right.
Lil Wayne comes out of the 90s. I can't say Lil Wayne's an icon, but I can say he's iconic-ish. But everybody else has been manufactured. Rihanna. Huh?
What would make Lil Wayne an icon in your? Because he would be a close second to Kanye, in my opinion.
Just because, we gotta remember, he was a top rapper at 14 years old out of No Limit. Yeah. So just that alone, he was one of the few kids that actually can go from 14. Criss Cross, Shaheem. I can name so many rappers that were super young and that never made it into their 20s. They were faded out. So he stayed. Not only did he stay relevant, he above and beyond, in his time period, was the greatest rapper alive at his little time period. Not that ever existed, but in his time period, yeah, he was the greatest rapper that was selling. You know what I'm saying? And he was, deep in his 20s already.
Yeah.
So that in itself is iconic. He has companies. He's the first one of the earlier artists out of No Limit, which is, and Cash Money and all that. So that is iconic alone. Just that being part of that, and and he's got his own company. He's got artists that are under him. He's brought a lot of people to the foreground, so that's iconic-ish.